It's weird, I love it because it's, I've never been to the US, never been to Canada, but I've seen it all my life in films. So it's a really strange experience walking around here. It's like walking around in a movie. And obviously I love that. Well, it's my first film, so obviously it's been going around my head for a long time. Not as the story, as this, the plot as you know it now, but elements of this go way back. And sometimes I discovered, like, there's still things that I discover now where I know, like, we realize, like, oh, that's this really old idea that I once developed, and it kind of found its way into the script. And so yeah, I mean, there's different things that I developed in the years before and discarded, and somehow they found their way into the film. So it's a big mix of many things, the basis of it. I had a foundation, and then once the actors got cast, I mean, maybe I have to mention also that a lot of the actors are non-professionals, and working with non-professionals is, by definition, it means that you have to continue writing your script while you're casting it, because you have to adapt it to them. And that's a process I really love doing. And you can also do this with professional actors. So once I had Frederick Lau on board, it kind of changed the film, gave it a slightly different direction. So yeah, the writing continues while you're casting. There's many different influences in the film, and two that I could name now, which have to do with the mood of the film. Is once, I mean, that's one of the things that I just remembered yesterday in a conversation with my producer, is that I think one of the sparks of the first ideas for the film was based on a trip that I did to South America 10 years, 12 years ago, where I became friends with a group of people in the middle of Paraguay somewhere, and I hung out with them, and I never really knew what they were saying. It was half of the time I didn't understand them, and half of the time they didn't understand me, because we were communicating in Spanish, and I just learned Spanish when I arrived there. And so it was really like, there's a lot of stuff lost in translation in such a situation, and you never really know where you stand with people. And at a certain point they were also sort of like involved in, they're not criminals, but they were a lot involved. Some of them had been in prison, so it's like there's an element of crime in the whole thing, and there was a love story involved as well. I fell in love with one of the girls there, and I didn't know what they were doing really. Maybe they were just after my camera that I had with me, I don't know, but I didn't think that. But at a certain point someone came over to me and said, like, these guys are dangerous, I think they just want to rob you. And that was after 10 days spending with them. And when I left it, we just hugged, we were best friends, and nothing happened. So it's this really weird feeling when you're coming into a different environment where you never really know if everything is just a cultural misunderstanding or if it's really something that's going on. That was one of the bases of the story, I think, and which you can obviously find now when you watch the film. That's especially if you're not Luxembourgish and you watch the film, you go through the same experience as the main actor, because it's a different culture. We are different than even Germany or France. And another influence, which is just as important, is that I always wanted to make a film that kind of not reproduces, I don't like that word very much, but it kind of, it kind of tries to get back to that feeling that you have as a kid when you grow up and you hear about things which you're not supposed to hear, about things relating to the adult world. And there were certain situations when I was a kid, which I had a beautiful childhood in Luxembourg, which is a very safe place, and it's really a perfect place to grow up. But there were certain situations where I could hear, for example, there was a very famous case where very close to my village, a gang of bank robbers were hiding away in a village and in a house. And for a couple of weeks, the whole village, they knew that something was going on, but they didn't know who it was who was kind of hiding in this, staying in this house. And weeks later, it was revealed that there was this, the whole time that they were in there, they were starting to kill each other. That they kind of totally freaked out, and the leader of the gang, he started pushing others to kill the others in the gang, and they ended up cutting the bodies in pieces and then putting them in acid in the garden. And everyone was talking about this in Luxembourg. It was major news. But I was 5 or 6 years old, so my parents were really trying to keep this away from me as much as they could. But I remember hearing bits and pieces of this, and it never was enough to understand what was going on, because obviously they wanted to shield me from that. But I have this terrifying feeling back from that time, from my childhood, which was beautiful and peaceful and everything, but I had this feeling that something weird is out there, and I don't know what it is, no one's telling me what it is, but sometimes in hushed voices they're talking about this, and that's something I wanted to reproduce in the film. And I think most people know that feeling from childhood. You know, and also things related to sexuality, for example, where you're not supposed to know as a kid, but you get glimpses of it. Maybe people know what it, I mean, I don't know if I have this other memory where I think I saw a porn film as a kid, so I just kind of stumbled across it and I had no idea what it was, but it just really freaked me out. And I still to this day don't know how I got to see this and what TV channel this was on, but it just really, really felt really strange to me. And this is all part of this mood that I wanted to create. So in a way, it's a film about childhood, but it has nothing to do with the theme of childhood in itself, and it's definitely not a film for children. The thing I don't want to do with any film is to over-explain, but we are circling around the subject. There's so many ways to look at a film, and a film is not a text, so it's not something that you can put into you cannot write it down and then just kind of give it to them and say that's the film in words. This film, as much as any other film, is something where you can look at it from different points of view and try to explain it, but there's no one way to describe any film. What I like about films also very often is that not everything is explained. I'm not trying to say that a film has to be vague just to be vague, but there's also something that is just transmitted by just emotionally. So it's not something where you really understand what you're seeing, but you're feeling it. And my intention was really to make a film where you can as much understand. It's not a story that you're following and you understand one clue after the other that's revealed. It's more a film that you're supposed to kind of just experience and feel. And some people might find this difficult because they like to be taken by the hand, but this film is about a guy who gets lost in a village, who doesn't know what's happening, and in a way I like it if the audience feels the same. You know, they're in there and they don't know where am I here. It's really, I can't get out of the screening room because I'm sitting here now, but where is this going to go and what's going to happen? Is it going to end up in mayhem, or is it going to be just a love story in the end? And so that's also, you know, how this film is supposed to work. What I really, really enjoyed was working with actors. It's funny to hear that from someone who's making a feature film and who must have made films before, but all the films that I've done before were all with non-professional actors, which I always really loved and I still love. But here, for the first time, I had 4 or 5 professional actors in the film, really great actors, and it was just a real pleasure to do this because it's a different way, and there's many similarities with non-professional actors, because even non-professional actors are actors. We are all actors in some capacity, but working with really great professional actors was just great fun, and I hope to be able to kind of delve into that kind of work more with my next film. Maybe I'll make a film one day just with actors, just professional actors. That would be a new thing for me.